Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm CJ Macklin, and what a busy week we had this week with college basketball. We're back with another edition of Hog Hoops Report with Kevin McPherson. And Kevin, my goodness, a lot of activity happened this weekend. Let's start first with guys going to the draft. Audice Tony and Jalen Williams both going to the NBA draft. Jalen Williams didn't have an agent, and Tony, he's headed to the draft, and Devo Davis that he is coming back. Vanover is transferring. It's a lot of action going on in Arkansas basketball right now.
Well, it's another busy week after Arkansas exited the NCAA tournament with a second consecutive Elite Eight. The news cycles just never stopped for a couple of weeks. We covered most of, the first part of that last week, where you had some player departures, you had a commitment, you had some other stuff going on there. On Sunday, about a week ago, we found out that JD Notae was hiring an agent, putting his name in the NBA draft. And then Monday, Jalen Williams, the 6'10 big man out of Fort Smith, arguably Arkansas's most valuable player last year, a double-double machine, announced that he was going to enter the draft but not hire an agent. So he's leaving the door open for a return to Arkansas. So this is a big, that's a big announcement, because I agree with his decision to get in the draft. He needs to give himself an opportunity to get the feedback from the NBA. We started to see mock drafts include him in late first round projections, some mid to late second round projections. And so when you go through that process, CJ, you're going to get an opportunity to get feedback from the NBA. If you don't hire an agent, obviously you give yourself that opportunity. The deadline is June 1st, by the way, to withdraw and come back to school. So he's going to give himself the time. Now he can compete if he's invited to the NBA draft combine. He can go through that. He can be worked out by teams individually. There's a lot he can do to go through this process and get all the feedback that he would ever need and want to make a decision. So good for him. And then you mentioned it, Audice Tony, the following day on Tuesday announced that he was hiring an agent and declaring for the NBA draft as well. So we know Notae and Tony are off the board. Arkansas loses a lot of production, obviously, from the SEC second leading scorer in Notae. Right. We know Tony was not only productive, one of Arkansas's 4 double-figure scorers, he was Arkansas's second leading rebounder. And when you really looked at his efficiency, whether it was field goal shooting or free throw shooting, he was either tops or top 2 on the team in efficiency in those areas. So a lot to replace in those guys. And then if Jalen Williams stays in, obviously Arkansas's, replacing a lot at the top in its production, because Stanley Umide is the 4th double-figure scorer for the Razorbacks. And of course, he ran out of eligibility, so he's gone. But you look at, if you look at those things, and you add that Connor Vanover, the 7'3" stretch 5 from Little Rock, who didn't play a whole lot, put his name in the portal this week. Not only did you lose production, but on a front line that was already thin with not a lot of depth options, now Connor Vanover's moving on. The right decision for Connor if he wants to play basketball. But nonetheless, it opens a scholarship, and it changes the face of your returning roster. Yeah. So several things happened. First of all, Arkansas got several new additions that we're going to talk about in commitments and actual signings, because it's from the portal. But I think the biggest news and announcement was that Devo Davis, the 6'3" combo guard out of Jacksonville, Arkansas, he put out on Twitter late in the week that he is coming back. So this is big, because now when you start looking at the landscape, Jalen Williams being on the fence, if he does return, Arkansas has 4 scholarship players returning. If he doesn't, it's only 3. And they've added now 2 additions when you look at high school signings, 1 high school commitment who will sign very soon, and then 3 out of the portal who I want to talk about that they added this week. But they're going to have 10 newcomers. And so we're going to find out if Jalen Williams comes back, someone else has to go, or if Jalen Williams is out. It may explain why the Razorbacks hedged their bets on big man recruiting in this portal in the last couple of weeks. So let's talk about that.
Oh, my goodness. A lot of people leaving, but a lot of people coming in on the Must Bus. The Must Bus was rolling this week. You got guys coming in from Arizona State University, Jalen Graham. You got the Mitchell twins coming in from Rhode Island. They also had a stint at Maryland before that. There's some big guys, 6'9", 6'10" guys. So Jalen Williams does leave. They still have that big size. And I seen a comment, I think it was on the pick trail, that we fixed our size in a week. Which we totally did. 6'9", 6'10" guys. Stanley Umude leaving, Tony leaving, Vanover transferring, but Devo Davis coming back is huge. But talk about those guys coming into the Must Bus next season. It's going to be a big year.
Yeah, so we talked about it last week, the addition roughly 2 weeks ago of Trayvon Brazil, the 6'9" freshman transfer from Missouri. So Arkansas got on the board right away with a big guy that has length,
Yeah.
versatility, can step out and knock down shots facing the basket. So Arkansas was already starting to address that. But we talked about the guys jumping in the portal, and the next thing you know, Arkansas just sticks front line in this portal process. You look at midweek, Arkansas added to the twin big men, like the twin towers, perhaps.
Twin Towers, I like it.
And you got Mikel and Makai Mitchell, transfers from Rhode Island, played 2 seasons with the Rams, but started out as freshmen at Maryland. So they've been around a little bit. But what you're really looking at with these guys is also more length and size. We mentioned 6'9", one of them's listed 6'10". But these guys can play above the rim. They're long. They block shots. And you look at that combination and you start to wonder, what is Musselman envisioning here? Is he looking at basically one position at the 5 where guys are going to alternate these twins? Because you got 10 fouls to spin there. You get fresh legs when one comes in for the other. How much time will these guys spend on the floor together? Because we just talked about Brazil coming on board 6'9" last week. And then after the Mitchell twins later in the week, a day later, actually,
Yeah.
Arkansas gets the young man out of Arizona State who you referenced, Jalen Graham, another 6'9" guy, second team all Pac-12, another athletic, long guy. And when I look at all these players, CJ, I see some similarities above the rim, length, rim protection. We'll see how, it's going to be hard to find any one guy to rebound like Jalen Williams does. And if Jalen Williams comes back, that's not a problem you have. But if he doesn't, it's probably going to be by committee. But I see guys that are versatile. They can run the floor and give you stuff above the rim in transition. And so I think Arkansas was mostly a below the rim team last year. That's not the strength of Jalen Williams' game anyway. And now you're bringing in this depth on the front line, something you desperately needed at times. The Duke game comes to mind, the season closer for Arkansas. And you've answered all of that. You've doubled down if Jalen Williams doesn't come back. But even if he does, you've got a lot of versatility and depth there, which will help you deal with things like injuries, foul trouble. Different matchups might call for using different big men in the rotation, because you've got a really deep high school class, mostly perimeter players. Jordan Walsh, the 5-star out of Texas, out of Dallas, is probably the one guy that's a 3-4 combo, but everybody else is really a backcourt player. When you're talking Nick Smith Jr., Anthony Black, Darian Ford, Joseph Pinion, Barry Dunning Jr. may also be kind of a smallish 3-4, but probably more of a wing small forward. So it makes sense to me what Arkansas did in the portal, going all big, 4 guys 6'9" or taller. When Musselman went, if you look at his recruiting a year ago, when he used the portal to really get small, he was really designing and imagining a small ball lineup. I think he's kind of reversing his thought process on that. Not completely, though, because he's still going to have options based on those younger players I mentioned, because they're mostly backcourt guys. He'll now have more options to go big if he wants, play small if he wants, or have something that looks more like a traditional 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So I think Musselman's giving himself chances. Now, look, I don't see Musselman changing much in the way that he plays a rotation, and that's 6, 7 guys, tight rotation. Yeah, there may be an 8th or 9th guy that checks in here and there and gets a couple of minutes here and there, but he really sticks to 5, 6, maybe 7 players in a heavy minute rotation. But I think he's given himself more options on how he does that. And we may see that be fluid and change. We've seen it in season a couple of times when Arkansas hit some snags and he had to sort of tweak that rotation. I think now he just has more versatility in what he can do, and he's never going to feel shortchanged by what options he has on the bench as he goes up and down to figure out how he wants to play it.
Yeah, a lot of kids coming in, but a lot of those guys are interchangeable as well. Like 3 or 4. The guy from Arizona State, Jalen Graham, down the stretch, he played, I think he averaged 13 points and 5 rebounds down the stretch. His season average wasn't that good, but coming down the stretch, that's why he was a second team all Pac-12, and he played some pretty good basketball. But like you said, all these guys coming in, after you have the must-bust fill out themselves and have everybody play, I guess, the happy minutes everybody wants to play. How tough is that going to be going into next year?
Yeah, it's just it. I mean, we just talked about it. Tight 6, 7 rotation. There's going to be guys sitting out. We talked about those big men. I talked about their versatility. I think the other thing that stands out is if you really look at their defensive efficiency as a group, they're really good defenders. And that's where Arkansas really, where everything starts for this Razorback team. You'd like to see Arkansas get better offensively, better shooting the ball. A lot of those things are going to be unknown for a little bit until we see who gets in the top part of the rotation and who can knock down shots. But what we do know is that if it starts on the defensive end, which it has, Arkansas was a top 15, top 10, 15 team defensive efficiency last year. And that's how they were able to turn their season around, is by getting better on that end of the floor.
Yeah.
So I think if nothing else, these bigs they brought in help them continue to be good defensively, and it makes them more versatile with that size and length to not only have different rim protection than what Jalen Williams mostly provides, which is taking charges. We'll see more blocked shots, but I think also it'll tempt teams to change the trajectory of their shots or alter their paths driving the basket when they know there's somebody sitting back there that can go up and erase the shot. But I think the other part of it is, again, you've got so much quality of depth.
Yeah.
I mean, you mentioned Graham, and he had a strong finish to the season. Second team All Pac-12. This guy's coming in expecting to play.
Yeah.
The Mitchell twins, veterans, man, these guys are producers. They come in expecting to play. Even Trevon Brazil is really highly regarded, even though he was just a freshman. He was a main cog in what Missouri did last year. He's going to come in expecting to play. And that top-rated number 2 ranked high school class with 3 5-stars, those guys come in expecting to play. Devo Davis is coming back. That guy's going to be an integral part to whatever Arkansas does. And so, again, I go back to Musselman in the 7 to 8 player rotation.
Yeah.
Something's going to give, and some guys are not going to be completely happy with their playing time. And that's why we see the swinging doors on the portal. They don't just come in for Arkansas. They also go out. And usually the guys that are going out are guys that didn't play. We saw it this year with Chance Moore, KK Robinson, Connor Vanover. There'll be more of that. We just don't know who it is yet, but it's a good problem to have when you've got the number 2 high school recruiting class. And some people think Arkansas right now with those 4 big men has the top portal class. And so when you're recruiting at that level, as long as you find what you need out of that for your top rotation, things should be going swimmingly if you're Eric Musselman. And look, back-to-back Elite Eights, and some of the things Arkansas has done 2 years in a row, finishing ranked in the top final national top 10 poll. All of the things that Arkansas has been able to accomplish the last 2 years proves that the formula works, because he's combining high school recruits and portal to get the best results that, really Arkansas fans have seen in decades when you go back to the Nolan Richardson era.
Yeah, these guys they're going to have to come to campus fighting for their spot, that top 8 or top 7 spot, because Coach Mush, like you said, he doesn't play. Let's switch gears real quick. We only got about 5 minutes left here. Let's go to high school. Like you said, Jordan Walsh and Nick Smith in the Nike Elite Summit. And also Nick Smith, I think he was in the USA Basketball. How big was that with those guys in these last couple of weeks?
Yeah, so, I mean, you had really, when you look at Arkansas's 5-stars, you had Jordan Walsh, played for the Geico National High School Championship, had a really good first and quarterfinals and semifinals round. Didn't have his best game in the championship game. Link Academy lost there, but what a big performance he had, and continued to show why he's a top 10 rated player by ESPN, a top level 5-star. And then you had the Nike Hoop Summit this week that culminated with a big game Friday night between the Team USA Junior National Team against the World Team Select. And you had Nick Smith Jr. and Anthony Black, the 5-star out of the Dallas area, playing in that game. And, it was really 2 events. You had a week-long event leading up to the 2 games. You had a scrimmage against the Portland Generals a day before that team World Team Select game. And Nick Smith Jr. averaged 10.5 points and 6.5 rebounds in those 6.5 assists, in those games. And so you've got 12 players on Team USA. They're substituting guys liberally every 4 or 5 minutes. You come in with a group of 5, you go out with a group of 5, and then you have the 2 extra guys shuttling in. So you didn't really see Nick play 20 minutes, maybe 18 to 20 minutes, and it's inconsistent. Yeah. So when you look at the production, 10.5 points, 6.5 assists, it shows you what we continue to talk about. He is a natural combo guard. He can score and facilitate. And if you're not impressed with the scoring numbers, you got to understand that's not even half the game that he's playing. It's going to be different when he's at Arkansas getting a consistent role and consistent minutes. When you look at it per 40-minute averages, it's really, really good, especially those assist numbers. This guy is really good with the basketball, setting others up or going and getting his own. And I think this week continues to prove what I've been saying for a long time. It's not only the best combo guard in the country relative to the classification he's in. He's the best one regardless of class, and arguably the top player overall, regardless of position. And so that's the centerpiece when you start adding guys like Anthony Black, Jordan Walsh, and some of the other names I mentioned in that top 2 rated class. All 6 of those players are rated by ESPN in the top 100 in the country in the class of 2022. So, again, Nick Smith Jr., Anthony Black continues to show, whether it was McDonald's All-American game or the Nike Hoop Summit, that he is an excellent passer. He is an elite passer, a guy that I think will continue to learn the point guard position, sets other players up, very unselfish. 6'7", I think he projects as a plus defender, potentially an elite defender. And in that Nike Hoop Summit game, he went up to the rim and blocked a guy's shot at the rim. So showed off some of that athleticism. He's a multi-sport athlete, and you can tell by some of the things he does that he not only has the athleticism, but he brings the confidence with it to go and make plays.
Well, I'm looking forward to next season. You got Nick Smith and the 2 other All-Americans coming back. It's going to be a big year, along with the Mitchell twins, Jalen Graham. It's going to be a long season, but it's going to be a good season, Hog fans, because they already have us projected to win the national championship. All right, Kevin, I appreciate you stopping by, man. We're going to have more Pick Trail coming up after the break.